Okay, it's essentially day one because I arrived last night. Extreme discombobulation and arriving in the nighttime. And then also this morning, I had my best jet lag performance ever. Woke up at 3 a.m., could not fall back to sleep. It's now like almost noon. But I was so confused because I have never been up on the hill where the place I'm staying is. And so I was like, where am I? Like, I know generally where I am, but actually where am I? And I feel like it's all coming together now. I'm putting it together where I am. Beauty beyond compare. Wow. Okay, what the fuck? I'm sitting in the park below Sofia Kyrkan just for a second. I'm eating the last of my cardamom bun. I bought some new books from the bookstore. The sun has set, essentially. Wow. It's so beautiful. I feel like I'm living inside of Fanny and Alexander right now, which is great. I'm happy to be here. Jag måste spela in någonting nu för att jag är så jävla glad. Jag kom precis från en teater, eller en pjäs på teater Brynnsgata 4 och det var så jävla roligt. Och ja, jag är på så bra humör just nu för att den var så rolig och ja, jag njuter av det så jävla mycket och nu ska jag dra hem. Men jätte kul kväll. Pjäsen heter Exil i Hello Kitty City. Den är en typ take on Waiting for Godot av Samuel Beckett och ja, den var jätterolig och intressant och den är också relaterad till kursen jag ska läsa om typ 2 dagar. Så det var ju intressant att se någonting som är ganska nära till ämnet. Att jag typ ska plugga gav mig väldigt mycket självförtroende att titta på en pjäs på svenska. Det var kul och ja, lite av en dröm skulle jag säga. Så, hej då! I'm out on a little walk. I've been so tired today. Partially jet lag, partially just because I've been out and about a lot the last couple of days. And now I'm done at Hammarby Sjöstad, I think. Nice. Okay, not Hammarby Sjöstad, but actually Hammarby hamnen. Då vet jag där man är och där man går. Jag har precis varit på Coop och köpte in en riktigt random snack haul som jag ska visa upp för er när jag hittar någonstans. Så jag sitter mig här nere i parken. Jag går förbi Sofia Kyrkan och ser. Det är en novelty där. Riktigt nice. Ja, kanske här nere. Nice. Ja, perfect. Okay, I'm sitting at Vitabergsparken, appropriately named today because it's all snowy. And I went to Coop to get some snackies, and I ended up with an extremely random snack haul, which I shall show you now. What shall we begin with? Okay, first of all, little lyxigt luxury raspberries. And then I got a lussekattabulle. And then I got gravad lox. And then I got, this is so funny, sour cream and onion flavored corn thingamabobbers and a kind bar. Sist men inte minst. Ja. Okay. I'm having some of this lussekatta and I feel like it's time for a check-in. Kind of dry, as expected. Me and babe. Funny. Wow. So let's start with the important stuff, which is yesterday I went to Åhléns to get like a blow dry brush because I brought mine and it's like a dual voltage like convertible thing, and then I plugged it in to use it and it was like the most weak sauce no-go thing. So then I went to Åhléns and I got this one Remington and it's great. It was very affordable and it's like combination blow dry brush and just like hair dryer. It was like $50 or something. Thought excellent. But the point is that while I was in Åhléns, I was really underdressed yesterday, I felt. And I got this beanie, which really matches the color of my eyes, and then I also got a scarf, which also matches. I feel like I talked shit about that lussekatta too early. It's actually quite good. Okay, time for chit chat. This is officially day 3. If we're counting the day I arrived as day 0, which I am because it was such a intense day of discombobulation. In the past when I have arrived, because it's been summer, there's been daylight for several hours after I get in, and I feel like that is extremely helpful to manage jet lag. But I arrived in the dark and was like really discombobulated in terms of what time it was and where I was and what had just happened to me and all of the above, basically. And yeah, so I feel like the jet lag has been kind of rough this go around. Like 2 nights, my first night here, I woke up at 3:15 and couldn't fall back to sleep. And then just had to kind of deal with that. And then yesterday I woke up more reasonably at like 6:30, but then today, again, I woke up at like 4:20-ish and could not get back to sleep. So that's happening. And as a result, especially today, I was just like so tired and just felt like I needed to kind of give myself a bit of a break because once I got here, I kind of hit the ground running and have been doing like 6-mile, 10-kilometer days for the last 2 days, which is kind of a lot. And it's been cold, so I felt like I needed to just treat myself to a day of rest and like not pushing my body, which is basically what I've done because it's now like 3 p.m. and I only left the house at 2. It's a Monday. And I spent this morning just kind of like getting my readings organized, and then I was gonna go to a cafe and instead I had to just take a nap on the couch. What I wanted to talk about is like getting in control of existential thinking to some extent, because I feel like I have a tendency to keep thinking like, what's the point of me being here, even though I've only been here literally 3 freaking days, and that's a bit silly. when I first arrived to Sweden in 2023 for the very first time, and I had planned a month-long stay for myself, and I had this like real conviction that that was the right thing to do. And then I arrived and was like, wow, what the fuck, like this is not at all what I expected it to be. And it took me like a couple weeks, I would say, to kind of like find my stride. And I don't know if it felt meaningful like every moment of every day. In fact, I know it didn't feel meaningful at every moment of every day, but there were certainly like high points of feeling like, wow, this is really where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing. And then the last time I was in Sweden, I would say it felt less like that, or like there were fewer points of real identifiable kind of like, oh yeah, this is very right. But I think that was also like due to circumstantial kind of differences. But I have to say, like, being here over the course of the last 3 days, I've had distinct moments every day of just feeling like, even if it's not so, like, sometimes it's been like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be here. But even if it's not that, there's been like at least a perceptible difference in the sense of like the texture of my life, or the kinds of experiences that are available in some way, or like maybe there's just like a little bit like more joy in the certain things that I'm doing because I know that I've like waited for it, while at the same time, like today I was, you know, tired and lying on the couch and trying to convince myself to get myself up and go to a cafe to do this reading that I need to do for class. And I was just like looking at the city and I was like, why am I here? Like, I feel like I've spent so much time focusing on wanting to be here that now that I am here, it feels sort of like small and unsurprising, which is also unsurprising in the sense that it is small and it's not like brand new. So yeah, but I do think being here in the winter adds to a sense of like newness and discovery, which is good. It really does feel like a lot of the time that I've spent walking around in the last few days has been this process of orientation and disorientation and reorientation, because there are so many like landmarks or places that I would recognize in the summer with all their foliage and stuff, but now in their winter garb, aka no leaves and lots of snow, it can sometimes be disorienting and hard to know like where I am. And that's just been interesting, because I feel like my experience of the places that I have lived is like they're really constant in the way that they look. And so it's interesting to get to be in a place where like there are bigger seasonal changes. Getting to see this city in its different states is pretty cool, I think, and fun, and also I feel like there's like Sofia Kyrkan, for example, like it's so dramatic, especially now, and I had this extremely beautiful moment 2 days ago where I like walked up the hillside of Vitabergsparken. That's probably in this video at the beginning, and I was just like so overcome by the beauty. I felt like I was in like a scene from Fanny and Alexander. It's like been really satisfying to be here and have those kinds of experiences, because I feel like in some ways my expectations of what this time was going to be like were like really colored by a certain level of fear around the Swedish winter, which, I mean, yeah, it's definitely dark and gray and cold, but that's what I wanted to experience, and I think just like getting to experience it is a privilege. Like, I can totally see how living here it would be difficult, and we'll see. I'm kind of nervous about like how long or what it's gonna feel like as time goes on, but also like I also feel like the light changes extremely quickly here, like the sort of like daylight hours, that moves pretty quickly. In California it feels like it's much more gradual in terms of the like big seasonal changes, just in terms of the light, not to mention the weather. So yeah, I don't know if I've made a point there. Hopefully I have. But I guess just to the point of like wondering like, what am I doing here? Is this worth it? Or all these kind of existential questions. I've learned from my previous trips that it's very easy for those kinds of existential questions to like really fire up before whatever it is that I have planned to go do has started. So like, for example, I'm taking this course. It starts on Wednesday. Today's Monday, so I have a day and a quarter left until class starts. So it's kind of like I'm in this state now where I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is all it is. This is what it's like. Is it worth it? And it's like, you haven't even gotten to the thing that you came here to do yet. So don't worry if it's worth it. Like, the worthiness and worthwhileness also, like, oftentimes I feel like that meaning is made upon reflection and isn't always super evident when you're living through it, even though certain moments can definitely feel like very, I don't know, lifted out, you know, like they're high points. Yeah, I think the meaning may come later, and so it's not really a helpful conversation for me to have with myself. It's more just like, how do I go out and live every day? It's also interesting to think about how the winter impacts anticipation of summer. Like, if you were going to go plan a big trip over the summer, you might be doing that now when it's like so snowy, and also people take like sun holidays during this time of the year, and it's just an interesting, like, different kind of split focus or like anticipation that we as Californians do not really have. Anyway, it's always easy in these early parts of a chunk of time to sort of be like, wow, what am I doing, or like, what's going on, or is this worth it, or what have you. Like, for example, today when I was lying in my apartment feeling so tired and being like, oh, like, Alexandra, you're wasting time, and then I have to realign come back to the, you know, thing that, like, I'm gonna be here for a while. Obviously it's not forever, but like, in my normal life in San Francisco, I have some days where I just need to spend time at home because I'm tired. And I woke up at 4 a.m. this morning. Like, obviously you're tired. Silly. But I've really enjoyed my walk today, and that's great. This is the book I'm reading for class, by the way. Performance by Diana Taylor. Honestly, it's kind of dumb. It's like really big print, but that can get back. The thing about the all the foliage being gone, or like things looking different, is I remember being in this park. I can't remember if it was last summer or the summer before, and seeing these paths over here, but like I feel like the foliage like blocked the paths, so I couldn't really tell like where the park ended or like where the paths went, and I, for whatever reason, was feeling like kind of shy about exploring them. I think because there were like people sitting at this cafe, but now I can just see exactly where the paths go because there's no leaves in the way. It's kind of funny how the park reveals itself. Just made it home. Plugged my phone in because it just sank to 3% all of a sudden. Probably because of the cold and because I was shooting video. A couple other thoughts that came to mind as I was out and about. Well, one part of this whole, just me like navigating this time, every time I come to Sweden, even though I always come for like an extended period of time, I always feel this time pressure. Like, oh, I need to be making use of the fact that I'm here, which I think makes a lot of sense. And honestly, like, I felt that way too in the first few months that I moved to San Francisco. Like, it used to be a treat to go to San Francisco, and then suddenly I was living there and I was like, why am I not going to Chinatown every day? You know, like, why am I not going out and doing all these fun things all the time? And the reality is you just have to live your life, and that's what I'm doing. But another kind of like weird element to this is that where I'm staying right now is on Södermalm, like kind of close to Sofia Kyrkan and Vitabergsparken and all that stuff. But I'm only staying here for 10 days. And then a week from today, I move to the place where I'm going to be staying for like longer, the rest of this time. So like I haven't even really like properly unpacked. The apartment is a little bit of a mess because I just like am really living out of a suitcase right now, and
I don't want to like buy too many groceries because I don't want to have to schlep it all or dump it, or, you know, whatever. So it makes this first bit of time feel kind of like provisional. Like I feel like I can't quite settle in totally, but at the same time I want to take advantage of being where I am, you know, like I want to take advantage of living in this area, even though frankly, like, it's kind of weird to, or not weird. Okay, wait, no. I'm just not used to this area as my home base, and so there's like a lot of things that I want to do or sort of like envision being a part of my day that are more associated with like Östermalm and Vasastan, just because I've like lived in those places, or I've lived in Östermalm and spent a lot of time in Vasastan, and just by nature of like where I was going to school the last time I was here and what have you. Anyway, so what am I trying to say? It just feels like it's a little bit provisional here right now. Not that it's any, I mean, I'm only going to be in the next place for 2 months, but it just feels like I can settle in more there, I hope. But I'm trying to like enjoy this time while also kind of being like in this weird limbo state. The whole process of settling in, like it always takes several days anyway to kind of get used to being in a new place or like get your rhythms back. It always takes time to like build up the food you have in your fridge and like make normal meals, or I don't know, I feel like I always kind of struggle with that here, but anywho, it's made even more challenging by the fact that I'm not going to be in this place for very long and don't feel like I can really like settle. What was something else that I was going to say? Oh my gosh. I'm really not like manifestation girl. That's not my vibe, but I feel like I have had like several instances now of writing things down and then having them come true in like pretty direct ways. And honestly, I think that me being here and doing this is one of them in a way that is kind of unexpected, or it's like you have this desire, you like write it down or articulate it in some way, and then sometimes you like forget about it, like just have time to forget that you even did that writing, and then you end up like basically executing exactly on whatever it was that you had in mind. So in this case, in November of 2024, I think I must have seen like a TikTok or video or something about like writing down, you know, like your wish and then like it'll come true, or I don't know what the fuck, but it felt like it was like a good idea at the time to like articulate something and kind of envision it. And I feel like I had a pretty like strong vision for what that wish was. And I remember I wrote it down in my journal and I called it my universal wish. And then I also ended up like making a Pinterest board for it. But basically the wish was that I was going to come to Sweden from January to June, I remember writing. And I wrote that I was going to live in Norrmalm for whatever reason. I don't really know why. But that I was going to come here for a theater project of like my own creation. And on the Pinterest board, I have like this selfie of me riding the Arlanda Express, which is like the train that takes you into the city from the airport, and then like snow, and I actually haven't looked at the Pinterest board in a while, I should look at it, but also like photographs of, you know, like black box theaters and like just like all this theater imagery. And then honestly, I feel like I kind of forgot about that, or even felt like it was like no longer relevant. I don't think I really remembered the details of it. I knew that I had like written it. I would see the board occasionally on Pinterest, but I wouldn't even like really open it. And then I got here and I kind of was like, oh shit, wait, what the heck? Like, this is exactly what I wrote about. And even like last night, I don't, maybe I'll insert a clip before this, but, or right now as I'm talking about it, but I went to see this play called Exil i Hello Kitty City, like Exile in Hello Kitty City, which is basically like a rewriting of Waiting for Godot, but with 2 female leads. And it was so great and so fun. It was at this theater, Teater Brunnsgatan 4. It's like kind of a little black box theater. And it was so fun. And I feel like even just like being in that environment like really speaks to these images and ideas that I had for this universal witch that I had written down. And anyway, all that to say that in my most jet lagged moments, like lying awake at night in bed, I feel like I've, in that wee hours of the night, been like, okay, I need to like start thinking of my next wish and like really write it down and envision it, because there's some secret sauce going on here, and I feel like I need to like capture it, or like if that worked, then like might as well try again with something else and see. So I think, I don't know, I do feel like manifestation, like capital M, I can't get behind. It feels too woo-woo, but maybe there's just something beautiful and surprising to like having a desire, writing it down, and then realizing that there is this kind of like continuity of self, or like a continuity of a wish, that like you can write it down. You can even, I sort of feel like it's actually kind of important to like not watch the pot boil, like to turn away, or like just sort of write it down, have the wish, and then just continue to live your life and like let things kind of fall where they may. And then in time, maybe that thing will eventuate. But I feel like it's actually quite important to be able to envision something for yourself. And I kind of think sometimes that if you can't envision that thing for yourself, then it's like not ready yet, if that makes sense. So, but I mean, obviously shit can happen all the time. But it feels like the ability to like envision the thing that you want and kind of crystallize some kind of desire is an important step in actually like making that a reality. I think that's it for now.